What's up, guys? Welcome back to In the Shop TV. On the last episode, we were forged ahead with our 4-link install. We got our axle tacked in, we got our axle brackets installed, and we solved an interesting problem with our 4-link bars. Where we left off was that we didn't think we were going to have enough axle clearance or suspension travel before our rear axle hits our frame. Actually, I know we're not going to have enough suspension travel before our axle hits the frame. So that's what today's all about. We're going to start making some step notches instead of buying them. I got some 2x4 tubing that we're going to make them out of, and we're going to save ourselves some money. They're a little bit beefier than what you would buy online or what you'd find online to purchase, but that's okay. I got a good deal on this, and we'll make it work. So we are using 2x4 rectangular tube, and what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting them on 30-degree angles. This is going to be actually both tops pieces right here. I'm just seeing how the fit up is. But you can kind of get an idea. We're going to have one side's going to be a little bit longer because our frame dips down lower on one side. A lot beefier than you normally see. So I was looking around online. I was thinking about buying these pre-made at first, and I'm kind of seeing them for the $200 range, $250 or somewhere in there. The least expensive I've seen them where they were decent is from a company called Paul Harton's Welder Series, I believe, and you kind of fab them up yourself. They're laser cut and they're kind of scored, so you just kind of fold them and tack them and then you weld them. And I think those came out to be about $130 or something like that. Anyway, I bought this 2x4 tubing for $80, so it's going to be a bit of work, but that's all right. We're saving ourselves some money, and I don't know, you kind of get that sense of satisfaction when you make something yourself anyway. So I am just changing my blade up here to something that's a bit more appropriate. What we'll try to do, let's talk on this one. Let's just get started. All right, so I've got our pieces cut out here. We're gonna have to do some custom cutting right here with the grinder because I can't get that with the saw. But our pieces, I think, are pretty well measured and set to go. I've made bevels in our cuts here so we can start tacking them together. You always want to bevel your edges so the weld will penetrate better. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these clamped down and start getting some tacks on them. All right, so we've got these clamped down, and I kind of put a piece of metal here just to distribute some of that clamping force along the work. You really want to clamp your work down when you're butt welding pieces together because as you weld one spot, the heat will make the metal shrink and contract and tend to lift up another part. So you really want to keep everything clamped down as best as possible. So as I just said, when you weld things, it has a tendency to shrink the metal and pull. So what I'm going to try to do is move around this and spread my beads out. For example, I'm going to weld this area first. And I'm going to go ahead and check everything for square after I weld that. And I'm going to come over here and then weld this underside and just kind of, move diagonally. So then we can just kind of keep everything even. You don't want to sit here and weld the bead here, weld the bead here, weld the bead there. You can start distorting everything. So just kind of always remember to keep your heat moving around the piece as you work. All right, so here's our first piece fully mocked up. I notched out the back where it's going to fit against that cross member, and behind that is where we're going to have our fuel tank. So this is kind of nice having this little perch here to rest on. It'll give us a little bit of extra strength. I still have to make one final cut right here where it sits level with the bottom of the frame. But for right now, I'm going to go get it in place and mock it up. Just hold it there and see how it looks. And if everything's good, I'm going to go take it to the other side and make sure that works on the other side as well. Then I can just use this piece as a template for when we start making our second piece. All right, so it's the next day. We got a really nice fit up. Cut that piece out. On our first piece, we held it up to our frame. Everything looks really good. There might be some, minor grinding once we get it ready to weld into the frame. We're gonna get started here on our second piece. All right, guys, so I just put 4 tacks on one side. I didn't show you on the other piece, but it's a little trick that I taught myself. I don't know if anyone else does this or not, but it might help you if you do this. When you put these tacks on one side of a piece that you're trying to keep true and square, when you flip it over, they're like little mounds, so the piece is gonna not rest evenly on your table or your bench or whatever. So I like to grind these smooth. That's why I don't clean my mill scale off yet, because I'm gonna grind these down so that they're flush with this and then prep everything for welding a bead. So that does a couple things. Number one, obviously we get a nice smooth flush surface for our weld to penetrate. Everything's nice and clean. But also if you kind of weld your bead over these mounds of tacks, your bead won't look right. You'll have a little bit of a mound on your bead and a little mound on your bead here, and it just won't be nice and uniform. So I just grind those down flush with the metal and then clean my metal after I grind my tacks, and then we can get a nice solid bead in this channel. Also, when we go to flip it, it'll lay nice and flat on our surface, so we don't get that kind of wobbly action, and we'll be able to keep everything nice and true. All right, so there you go. We just tacked up the other side, and as you can see, no wobble. It's nice and flat. Keeps everything nice and true doing it that way. All right, guys, both of our step notches are done and placed on each side. What we're doing now is I'm marking lines on the frame here and here, where I'm going to cut this piece out and we're going to inset it right down, leaving the side. Then we're going to weld it along the side and then on the inside of the frame as well. All right, so that dropped right in there nice, but I've got to cut just a tiny bit more off this side because it's kind of preventing it from going all the way down here. All right, so we've got a really good fit up. I've just got this rivet that's in the way, so I'm going to kind of notch this out just a tiny bit to make it fit over that rivet, and we should be good to go on this side. All right, that side's all welded in. All right, so we got our second one set in place, ready to be welded. Checked about 1,000,000 times. We are dead level. We are all welded in on this side. Just ran out of welding wire. I got about a ½ an inch to do more on the inside. That's okay, we'll get some welding wire and finish that off camera. Fully welded in though for the most part. Everything is even. We are leveled from this way to that way. We are even from there to there, right up against this back cross member. I am very, very pleased with how this came out. Usually there's like some, I don't know, hang-ups and it's not quite right and you got to adjust things. This just came out perfect, so really, really pleased so far. All right, guys, so we're all welded in, looking pretty good. I've taken that kind of dolly out front of the axle and set the axle housing on the floor. Now it's time to start cutting this frame out. Moment of truth, hope it goes well. Well, it didn't fall down. That's a good sign. All right, one side out. One more cut to go on this side. All right, it's pretty satisfying. All right, so everything is welded in. We got our axle set in place at the approximate ride height that we're gonna be at. Resetting our pinion angle to make sure that we're accurate. So as luck would have it, I'm just getting ready to weld in some bridges, which are some cross pieces that go from one side to the other. add some rigidity. As I was getting ready to weld those in, my welding machine just crapped out on me. So I went through all the steps. I was on the phone with tech support. Something's fried internally, so I'm on my way to pack it up and bring it to the authorized repair center and hope to get it back soon. They're telling me weeks, which is like really traumatic to me. As you can see, that's not gonna work so well for me. Might have to rent something, I don't know. But I was planning to get those welded in, and I want to get the panhard bar in, and I want to get that all included in this video, but that's not gonna happen. So I'm gonna have to cut it right here, guys. I have no choice. I wanted to give you more, but can't weld anything. So that's it for today's video. Hope to catch you guys in the next one. Guys, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. We need to get that point so we can get monetized. Please like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.